Hi, I'm Dr. Christy. I'm a researcher and a data science director, and I help analysts and data scientists take their career to the next level. So today I'm starting a video series on how to get started with an analytics or data science project. So if you're currently an analyst or a data scientist, or you're looking to get started, then this video series is really going to help you walk through those steps. So today's video is going to be about how do you define the goal of your analytics or data science project. So typically how these projects start is there's an initial meeting with stakeholders where there's a problem, and their key question for you is there an analytics or data science solution that can solve this problem for the business? So a lot of times these projects start out as very broad and very gray. So for example, they may be asking about, are customers satisfied? Like, that's the project. There's nothing else to it. Or customer complaints are increasing. That's the project. And it's kind of difficult for you as the analyst or data scientist to really restructure it into a project that you can tackle with your skill set and your expertise. So the approach I'm going to talk about today is taking a research structure. So what does that mean? That means you're going to take this big, gray, broad topic that has come up, and you're going to leverage the well-known research process based on the scientific method. So there's two parts to it. The first is to use a hypothesis structure. Basically, they're going to give you that big blob of a topic, and you want to get it into a structure that lends itself to hypothesis testing and to using data to test your hypotheses. So what does that mean? Well, you're going to restructure it into a statement like these. Does a change in X relate to a change in Y? Or you might try to push it into key drivers analysis where you say something like, what are all the key drivers of changes in Y? Or it might be something like, how much does a change in X impact Y? So these are all ways that you can add some structure to the conversation and start structuring it as a hypothesis. So here's a quick example. Suppose a topic that they told you is, are customers satisfied? Right? Which is just this big, great topic. So these are some ways that you can restructure it. You can say, do these factors, X, increase customer satisfaction? Or which of these factors increases customer satisfaction the most? Or how much does a change in X impact customer satisfaction? So these are just ways that you're going to restructure it into that hypothesis structure. And this is actually a great time to brainstorm drivers and hypotheses with your stakeholders, because it's a great way to have that collaboration and start it early in that scoping process. So the second piece is it actionable? So what does that mean? That means from a strategic point of view, it answers that question of so what? So the worst thing that happens when you're in a presentation, you spend 6 to 8 weeks working on this and you present it to some executives and they're like, so what? Like, who cares? So you're trying to, with this scoping process, do that on the front end so that you anticipate that and you've already thought it through, and only the good projects that can make it through this sort of initial scoping are the projects that you'll invest in and do down the line. So what does actionable mean? So that means if you're thinking of a key driver, for example, it's a factor that you actually have control over. And it also just means in general, is that result insightful? Does anybody care? So going back to our example of are customers satisfied, a lot of times people will come up with, oh, I'm gonna just create a metric. It's this customer satisfaction metric. It's got like 20 different variables in there. And that's great, but then and then what? Like, what are you gonna do with that metric? Are you going to look at what's driving it up? Are you gonna look at factors? Are you gonna use it to segment your audience? Like, how are you planning to use that metric for something useful, as opposed to just stopping at, I'm gonna make this cool metric? So another example of a not useful approach is to come up with a driver that nobody cares about. So you say, oh, this is the result, and like, nobody cares. And the nice thing is, because you're doing this in the initial scoping stage, even if it doesn't make sense at this stage, this just means you have more conversation, and it gives everybody a chance to come up with ways that they would take action based on those results. So I gave examples, bad examples. So what is a good example? So one could be, do customers that more frequently use this product feature have higher customer satisfaction? So that might be the hypothesis that you ended up testing, which is solid. The result might be that yes, in fact, people that use this product feature are much more satisfied, which is great. And then what are the potential actions? So there are a lot of actions that they may want to take. So they might want to create user guides to increase knowledge and training around the feature. They might want to have webinars or marketing campaigns to increase awareness of that strategy. They may want to start working on version 2 of that same feature to improve it and improve quality. Or they may want to do a whole nother round of research around specifically that product feature. So these are example actions that you can brainstorm and bring it to that collaboration session where you can talk about it with stakeholders. And the reason this is valuable is because if you have this conversation early on and they're not interested in any of those actions, which can happen, then it's better not to do that project, because there's so many times where you invest time and energy and they're not going to take action, and they already knew that at the beginning. Like, there's no need for you to waste time, like spend 6 to 8 weeks chasing data and doing all this stuff, and they have no interest in the actual actions that would come out of your project. So it's much better to anticipate it on the front end and then see how they respond, and only if they're interested, move forward. So that's it for this video. In the next session, we're going to talk about data. So how do you actually find the right data measures to test these hypotheses and keep moving through your scoping process? See you there.